Okay, Carl, time to tap into that font of traveler knowledge. Chaosium, when they put out Thieves World, I think it was Chaosium put Thieves World out, had stats for Traveler there in Thieves World. So where in the Third Imperium is Thieves World?
Carl Rodriguez is the GMologist, GM extraordinaire, the GMologist.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. That was Jason Connerly at the top of the show asking an interesting question. And to answer his question, I would say, well, there's two possibilities. One, that Thieves World is some sort of recreation world for the rich and famous somewhere in the Imperium. You could put it wherever. You just got to find a world that matches the stats and nothing official is on it. Or if it's something official is on it, well, you just change it. That's the beauty of the official Traveler universe. Mark Miller is not going to come knock on your door or send the Pinkertons to see if you're playing in the official Traveler universe or if it's in the or not, right? So, and then the other alternative is it could be like an actual world, maybe populated by some sort of fringe element during the rule of man or the long night, and it would be somewhere in the spinward extents. So there's um, several sectors to spinward of the spinward marches that are have been developed and have some really strange worlds, and the Aslan are there, the Jordani are there, but beyond that, it's just uncharted. So it could be in the uncharted spinward extents. And then what is cool is that the magic that you see on Thieves World could just be a form of psionics or different psionic powers that are manifest. So I think it would really work. So thank you for that call. And here in this Geomologist Presents, what are we going to do today? Well, I got call-ins from a number of people, so we'll hear those and respond. And then we will talk about this really fantastic weekend of gaming. And it wasn't just games that I ran. I ran two games this weekend. I ran a game of Call of Cthulhu for my wife and a friend of ours. And we finished an adventure called Spare the Rod, which is in Tales of the Miskatonic Valley. I think it's by Golden Goblin Press, but I could be wrong. But it's in there, and we finished that, and it was pretty exciting, pretty cool. And then I ran a Savage Rifts game for my wife and Darren Green, and that is an ongoing game. I wasn't too happy how it went, but the players enjoyed it, or at least my wife told me she enjoyed it, and Darren didn't say he didn't. So no knowledge is positive knowledge. I don't know. I didn't like it because I kind of was. I tried to use some like random charts and I didn't know where to go in the Savage World book, and I need to like dig deeper into finding the actual travel rules that I like for Savage Worlds, not just the ones in Suede. I think there's some in one of the Savage Rifts book. I can't remember which one, but I know that Kevin from Madison from Dungeon Musings has used it, or maybe he's the one from Pathfinder, Savage Pathfinder. Anyway, I just got to track it down because I really like how it doesn't just draw cards and something happens. Like the players can influence how the outcome during the travel sequence, and we have probably like where they're going. They probably have at least a couple days of travel, so we do it once, which would be good. And I think I put them into Merktown, which is a town that if you played Rifts, you're familiar with. There's a lot of mercenary companies there. It's like a big barter town. You can buy anything except slavery is illegal. It's on the edge of the Federation of Magic in sort of the free people's lands between several coalition states. Um, but and there's a book on it. It's a Rift World book on it, but I didn't have it at the time, and I really I didn't get into Merktown as much, except to describe it as a big cosmopolitan town with a giant bazaar and you could buy anything. So I think now that I have a map and tools, I can kind of do more things in Merktown. Maybe they'll want to stay in Merktown. We did have so they did have a lot of fun. Well, I guess I'm doing a recap of it here. So no, let's wait for that. I'll get to that in a second. But suffice it to say, I think the next time we run Savage Rift, I'll be more prepared, and it'll be more engaging because I have more better ideas on what I want to do. But there was at least a good combat with it, and the characters did some fun and cool things. But what I guess what I wanted to talk about more is like I played in a couple of games where I was not the GM and I was a player, and that were games run by Kevin Madison of the Dungeon Musings YouTube. You can go watch these either live stream or he records it so you can watch it later. And I played Warhammer Fantasy, and someone else was running it, which was pretty cool, and I had a really great time. And I'll talk about that a little bit. And then I played in his charity game, which was Savage Worlds, and we were like heroes, Boxer Rebellion, big peasant heroes. And he kind of adapted Savage Worlds to have like a magical or at least key focused based kung fu, kind of like you see in wuxia films and in the Shaw Brothers stuff, Wong Fei Hong type stuff. So Jet Li. So it was good. It was really good. I had a really great time. It was actually well received on the YouTube channel. It's got a lot of good comments. So anyway, we'll get to the calls first, and then some recaps. All right. Oh yeah, and because it is Call of Cthulhu theme, we do have a Cthulhu related unboxing. So yeah, that'll be at the end though.
Hey Carl, it's Hobbs. Hey, listening to your NTRPG.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Wolf Road, Wolf's Crossing Road.
Sorry, GPS. And we are about so close now until we're leaving. I have not done any of my prep. All it's been doing is percolating. But you should know TJ Drennan, the guy who did your music.
Take the next left onto Wolf Road, Wolf's Crossing Road.
The guy who did your music is also going to be there. At NTX, basically, I think is what the cool people call it. How it got that name, I don't know. I'm looking forward to
your... In a quarter mile, turn left onto Cardinal Avenue.
We deal in lead, and enjoyed the episode. I'm still disappointed I can never seem to get into the Beyond the Claw game. One of these days. Oh, and I also wanted to tell you that I really think if my niche is maps and lurid details, yours is absolutely taking events either from real world or from
take the next left onto Cardinal Avenue, then turn right onto Belmont Avenue,
existing IPs and using them all together. So I'm not surprised the Star Wars game is going so well for you, because I remember all the semi-historical games, historical fiction games we played, and how good of a job you did at weaving real life events and made up events together and making them feel like a really cool, cohesive whole. So keep it going, brother. I can't wait to see you.
Take the next right onto Belmont.
Hey Hobbs, great to hear from you. Thank you for those kind words. It's going to be awesome to see TJ Drennan. Maybe he and I can do some music or some singing. And well, he's probably got a good voice. My voice is kind of crappy by now after so many years of smoking and drinking. No, not really. I don't smoke, but I do like my beers and my whiskey. Anyway, it's going to be great to see you. I don't know why NTX on the Discord is called NTRPGCon. I know it's a mouthful. It's a long abbreviation, but see, I think they don't want to call it NTX because they don't want to cease and desist from the NTX Korean K-pop boy band that exists. I think that's why they're not using NTX. So be careful if you use NTX, because you might get a cease and desist. And speaking of cease and desist, this is a personal rant of mine. So a local brewing company has a beer called Dale Shine, so Dale with the tilde, well, like an accent mark at the end, Dale in Spanish, shine, and this brewing company, which has a it's not even a similar sounding, not even the same type of beer. Dale Shine is a Mexican style lager, and then this brewing company, you could probably figure out who it is. They have a famous beer called Dale's Pale Ale, and they're like sent a cease and desist to my friend's brewery, and I don't understand it. So I'm not going to drink Oscar Blues anymore. So there you go. I named the brewery. I'll probably get in trouble. Anyway, that's just a little personal rant. I don't understand. I know that I guess they have a place in Austin, and there is another. So there's another. I don't know what is the deal with Austin. Maybe too many lawyers for a small area, but they're pretty litigious. We have another. We have another brewery friend who had a monkey in the title of their brewery name, and they were given a cease and desist by another brewery who had monkey in the title of their brewery name. And there's no way that they would confuse those two breweries, because that brewery, Suds Monkey, kind of sucked. And then this brewery that I'm talking about, I don't even remember the name of the title because they've done so well with the second pitch title, so maybe it was a blessing in disguise. But Suds Monkey in Austin sucks. I will never go there again either. Anyway, yeah, thanks for like the real world niche thing. I have a lot of great ideas, and you got me thinking and percolating in my head, if we're using that term, percolating, that there, especially now with there's things like, Miskatonic University Press and Octoon Cthulhu is letting people kind of use their IP and pictures and stuff like that. As long as you don't make something that is going to be in a product that they're going to have. And I think I have particular niches, and I've really enjoyed. I mean, people still ask me if I'm going to ever run Cthulhu Invictus again, because I had a great Cthulhu Invictus where the backdrop was the Teutoburg Forest Massacre in '89 by the combined German forces against several legions. And I actually have a T-shirt that alludes to that, which is kind of funny. I've had a great time doing stuff in Call of Cthulhu, especially because it kind of is kind of real world, but the real world is fake or false because of the cosmic horror that is out there. So maybe that's why I like games like that, like Call of Cthulhu, like Octoon Cthulhu, like Old West games, where you can, yes, it's fiction, but it's kind of historical fiction. So hope to continue that trend. Yeah, I mean, I really am enjoying writing for stuff for DCC, for convention games, and we'll see how they go. Hopefully they develop, hopefully I get good feedback, but it's going to be great to see everyone there at NTX in North Texas RPG Con, and yeah, it could be a really good weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Carl, I hope you're having or had fun or are getting ready to have fun at North Texas RPG Con. I don't know when you're leaving, but it sounds like you're ready, man. That's awesome that you've got to meet so many cool people and that you'll get to see them again. That's got to be the coolest part of going to the same con over and over again, right? Like, I've only been to one con one time, and I had a blast, and then the world shut down. But, yeah, man. Kingmaker sounds totally awesome. I'm glad you guys are running through that. And I wonder how different the video game is from the actual adventure path. Because there's also the Wrath of the Righteous video game out there. And I haven't played it. None of my players have played it. But I've seen some gameplay of it. And it looks a little different. So I'd be really curious to know about that. But So here's my question, though, that I have for you, Carl. Whenever you say the name Twilight 2000, the name of the game, my brain instantly thinks sci-fi. I don't necessarily know why, just because I guess Twilight, I think of space, the sky, which makes me think of space. But
are there sci-fi elements like futuristic stuff or alien or any weird sci-fi stuff in Twilight 2000? Not in necessarily the game you're running, but in the overall world of Twilight 2000. Though, saying that, I don't know if there is like world lore outside of the campaigns or whatever. Anyway, man, that's my question. Is there sci-fi stuff in Twilight 2000? Anyway, dude, have a great time at North Texas RPG Con, and I will talk to you later. Peace out.
Hey, Joe, thank you for the call. I'm looking forward to North Texas RPG Con. And I honestly have no idea how Kingmaker, the adventure path versus a video game work. I generally am not a video game guy, but I know a couple of my players played it all the way through, or at least one of my players did. So I can ask them if how similar they are. But again, he didn't remember the little trick or little secret in the adventure path that was definitely in the video game. Maybe when that happened, he's like, oh yeah, I don't know. So at least he doesn't. Maybe it's because it's fortunate that we get old and we forget things. But he doesn't seem to be affecting the gameplay at all, and he is just a surprise. So I think that is pretty cool. So as far as Twilight 2000 goes, well, I think it is kind of in the realm of speculative fiction, like books like Guns of the South by Harry Turtledove are considered sci-fi, like when they kind of do this time travel thing and it's an alternate verse. Same thing with Dies the Fire series by S.M. Sterling. They're speculative fiction, like what if this had happened at a certain time and it changed the course of history. So I guess Twilight 2000 would technically be sci-fi, but I think I know what you mean. And I probably because there is a game called Twilight Imperium, which is a board game about like a space opera related board game. That's probably why people think of Twilight 2000 as maybe part of that universe or something like that. They actually do have an RPG out using the Genesis system for Twilight Imperium now, so that's going to cause some confusion. But there is a product actually that they put out for Twilight 2000, the second edition, called Twilight Nightmares, and they throw in some weird stuff that is definitely in the realm of science fiction and horror, actually. Adventures or encounters that the survivors could happen, or if you're playing Merc 2000, it could be part of the mission. And I was looking through the book because I actually still have the book, and I was looking at notes from the last time I played Twilight / Merc 2000 way back in the day, and it kind of showed the valley where the player characters got ambushed and were annihilated and captured, or some were killed and some were captured, and then the campaign kind of died. But I had used an adventure from Twilight Nightmares, but they didn't even get to the nightmare yet. This was just maybe they encountered some of the nightmare, but mundane forces took him out. So Filipino special forces actually took him out. They pissed off somehow. They pissed off a local Filipino group, or the Filipino group was after them for some reason. I can't remember why. Maybe there was a bounty on their heads. I think it was a bounty on their heads. And while they were good at doing ambushes in the past, this time it didn't work out for them. So I guess you could throw in sci-fi elements. And I think at the time, a little history lesson, Twilight 2000 second edition was done with the Game Designs Workshop House system. And they also had Merc 2000 out. They had Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. They had Dark Conspiracy. They had Traveler. And all these use the same system, so they're able to kind of intermingle them. And there's definitely some of that hint in here. And actually, it was kind of cool. Connerly and I and some of the others were talking in the GM's lab, and one of the players like, "What you gonna do for your birthday?" And it was discussion. And maybe I'm gonna do something akin or inspired by something in the Twilight Nightmares book, either using Mark 2000 or even Millennium's End rules. So we'll see how that goes. All right. I'll talk to you soon, brother. Thanks for the call.
Out here in the field, I fought for my meals.
Carl, it's been a while since I've been at the online gaming table, and it was great to make a little comeback with some Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, joining yourself, Dungeon Muser, my brother, and my old buddy Jonathan. What a crew to play with. For me, a bit of a dream team. I feel like we've shared a lot of chat about Warhammer, the to and fro messaging, and listening to your episodes, your recaps. Some really interesting sessions you've recounted. Got me interested in the game. A little bit of nostalgia in there as well recently has got me interested. And I was not disappointed. It's a real privilege to play with you guys, and your kind of knowledge of the background and the rules. Well, not just yourself, but Kev and my brother and Jonathan, all really up to speed with all that stuff. My technical issues let me down a little bit, but I think I've got that all sorted now, and I'm hoping you're going to be able to join us for another session. It's it's just a great scenario. The Rough Night of the Three Feathers, we talked about it, a classic, and I hope you enjoyed the game, and I'll be interested to hear what you made of it all. I particularly like the angle of the social classes that you come across in the Warhammer games. Not something I've dabbled with in other games much, so I'm keen to see how that goes. Anyway, mate, I've lost my thread there a little bit, so I'll cut this one short. Take care, and I'll catch you later.
Hey there, Colin. Thank you for calling in and those kind words. Yeah, Warhammer Fantasy, the world is such a great fun to play in. I really am enjoying the 4th edition. I think it cleans up a lot of things. I know people jump back to the first and maybe 2nd edition because they're a little more deadly, but I don't know. I guess it really depends, because you could still have fate intervene when your character died or some such, so, or not get a disease or whatever. So it's still a pretty harsh world either way, whether you have fate or fortune or resolve and resilience on your side or not. And you got to use that meta currency and the eyes of the gods upon you wisely, I think. Rough Night of the Three Feathers was great fun to play. I really enjoyed it. So I guess I'll take the opportunity to talk about it a little bit here. So I'm playing Elsa, who is a witch hunter, and I thought it was a really fantastic, fun role playing. There was a combat encounter and some other very interesting interactive encounters. Rough Night of the Three Feathers has been around since White Dwarf. I think it was White Dwarf. Was it a dungeon? Anyway, or a Dragon magazine. Anyway, since the 1st edition, it's been redone by Graham Davis for multiple incarnations of the Warhammer Fantasy rule set. And the 4th edition is really cool because they have it in sort of a compilation. So it has Rough Night of the Three Feathers, and then it has adventures that would follow on to that. So you could make it sort of a campaign kind of set of adventures, which I think is really, really neat. And I've run it for my group, and they said that this was like the best adventure that they've ever played. I ran it for a Warhammer 4th edition fantasy group, and then we went into Terra at Talabheim adventure that was made for Warhammer 2nd edition, but we did it in the 4th edition, and it was very satisfying, very cool. We started it live, and then COVID happened, and we finished it online. And then from that, some of the players were like, well, I want to play this again and play this some more. So then we decided to start the Enemy Within. So that's the origin of that story. But what's cool is just, I know Madison, I talked to Madison about this already, Kevin Madison, and he said, I know you've run it and played it, but I can change it enough so you won't know everything. And it's true, I don't remember a damn thing from that adventure. There's so many things going on. Think of the movie Four Rooms, where all these things are happening and you got to deal with them. So what we dealt with, so Elsa and Spike Pitt's character Molly were sitting at a table. Some shenanigans had happened beforehand in a previous session where Darren Green and some other players, I don't quite remember which players are there. I know Jonathan Dorman joined us, and he played an elven merchant. This time around, I can't remember the name. honestly. So I have to look back. But anyway, these characters are built pretty well. That's something from the starter set, and I was impressed by them. And now I understand why they're so well built. We commented on that when I've used them before, when I was running some Uberstrike adventures and jumping into the starter set of adventures, and they're like second tier, right? So that's why they're so pretty competent. So anyway, so we're sitting at the bar. These people come in, they're causing trouble, and we get into a little bit of a scuffle, and then uh, Elsa takes advantage of metagaming wise, but I guess in the verse you would know this. Black powder weapons are pretty damn powerful and not and kind of scarce, really. But people and they make a lot of banging, a lot of noise, a lot of smoke. So people have to make a fear check um, if they go off and you're not ready for it or used to it or battle hardened. So I take out my pistol and I shoot it up in the air and I roll fantastic on my. I get many levels of success. It's a percentile dice. The lower you get, the better. I get many levels of success and it intimidates the crap out of everyone. So the fighting stops. And then we go about our business. We feel like we're obligated. There's this nobleman who was looking for his fiancee who had eloped, and I guess the maybe the inn was in on it. I don't know. Anyway, we go up to talk to them. They're kind of not very pleasant people, but we warn them anyways. As our obligation. We hear strange noises. We hear a scream. Um, we we learned that so there's this noble woman in the house who and her entourage, along with the champion, are going to a big city. I don't know if it's Altorp exactly, but they're going to a big city to answer the combat at arms challenge, or she's been accused of something, so they're using a trial by combat to solve it, and she has a champion. But it turns out the champion is killed, and unfortunately, it is Elsa's dagger that is stuck in him, and it's obvious it's Elsa's dagger because she probably has like etched in the symbol of Sigmar. I know some people didn't really realize it at the time, but unfortunately, would have had an opportunity to lift it. But Elsie knows she didn't do it. She realizes her dagger is missing. Someone probably stole it in one of the kerfuffles or shenanigans that were going on earlier. But she's a witch hunter, and my defense is that witch hunters would publicly don't execute people in private. They don't assassinate people. They would publicly accuse them and have them burned at the stake or killed out in public if they resist. And there was no signs of scuffle or anything like that. So there you go. We also have an ally among the Graven's entourage, so that hopefully that'll help. And Elsa won't be strung up, but she's going to present her defense, and hopefully it goes well. If not, well, then we make another character, and that's the way things go in the Warhammer verse, unfortunately. The problem for the Graven, though, is that now her champion is dead. So how is she going to defend herself in the trial by combat? All right. That was kind of the nutshell of Warhammer Fantasy. And thanks for the call, Colin. And we'll talk and play with you soon. Oh, thanks again, Kevin Madison, Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. I put links in the show notes for his YouTube channel of actual play and the charity that he sponsors, and where all the money from his Patreon or wherever you donate. I don't think he has a Patreon, but wherever you donate to his charity events, it goes to Heroes Save Villages, SOS Children's Villages. So for the education of orphans around the world. It's a great cause, and I put links in the show notes. All right, next up is Sam.
Hey Carl, good to hear more about your Twilight 2000 group. You sound like you have a nice bunch of players. I don't have a blog or a podcast or anything like that. I'll leave that to you. You guys do a good job, and I'm just looking for a conversation sometimes. And thanks for facilitating that. I just try to keep my life simple and not have too many things. My Twilight 2000 campaign was using 2.0. Something I'd always wanted to play since the 90s, but my groups never got into. And I bought a used copy 3 or 4 years ago, and found it at a convention actually for cheap, and I just it was my first time getting back into RPGs since I was a teenager in the 90s, and yeah, just it's finished now, but yeah, it was a blast. It was basically like real world Vietnam, but the characters took it in some crazy directions, and it went pretty off the wall. It was great. Anyway, man, I'm about to run out of time, but yeah, enjoying the conversations. Thanks.
Sam, it's always great to hear from you and cool to hear about your Vietnam era Twilight 2000 campaign. Yeah, I guess this Twilight 2000 second edition keeps coming up, and someone was even asking on my Discord the other day what I'm going to do for my birthday. I run a game every year, and there's been some suggestions thrown out there, but someone suggested kind of like an adventure inspired by Janissaries by Jerry Pournelle, and I maybe even using Merc 2000 / Twilight 2000 second edition and or Millennium's End or one or the other or both or neither. Maybe even Savage Worlds would work with that. So so yeah, I think that's something pretty cool. I also have like a sap, and I say that because I actually have, inspired by what you said, I have like the not Suede, the previous edition of Savage Worlds, the Weird Vietnam book that I got at an auction at a recent convention at ChupacabraCon. So maybe I'll try to get that to the table or use those rules. We'll see. We'll see. But thanks for the call, Sam. Always great to hear from you, in both here and in Connerly's Nerds RPG Variety Cast. So take care and keep telling those Twilight 2000 tales. I love it. Next, I think we're not playing Twilight 2000 this week, but next week, and then we'll probably get into some stuff, and maybe I'll have some comments on how if the characters survive or what the characters are doing. They're getting to a head against someone called the Admiral, who has a flotilla of many boats, and we'll see how they're going to handle it. Are they going to take the attack to them or wait for them to attack Gora Calvaria? We'll see. All right, thanks for the call again. So speaking of Savage Worlds, I did play Savage Worlds twice this past weekend. In one, I played Savage Rips, and I'll talk about that first, and then talk a little bit about a really cool game that Kevin Madison at Dungeon Musings ran called Big Swords Saga. So Rips, right? So it's an ongoing campaign. They're part of this group called the Tomorrow Legion, and we did the adventure out of the box set situation at Garnet Town or something like that, or encounter it at Garnet Town, or the Garnet Town Gambit. That's what it was called, from the box set. We played that and went through it, and the player characters captured one of the bad guys, and now they've been tasked to, since he's a diplomat and they don't want to go all out war with a nearby political entity called the Federation of Magic, the Tomorrow Legion is going to have the player characters send him back. But they also get another mission, and they learn that from an informant, apparently the Federation of Magic has some civil strife. It's kind of there's different factions within the Federation of Magic, and while Lord Dunskin, who rules out of the City of Brass, is a nominal leader, there is opposition, and one of the places that has opposition gives some intel that Lord Dunskin is looking for this artifact that will allow him to scry on his enemies. And the group that tells the Tomorrow Legion that is saying, well, we'd rather have it for defense. So we'll see if that happens or works. So players are taking this prisoner. I thought it was pretty fun that the Maina and Halima, who's now a techno wizard, designed a cage to keep the prisoner, who's some sort of sorcerer, in, and they kind of designed it with some magic hindrances as well as some technical hindrances in mind, and they strap the cage to the shoulder of the Triax Forger robot that they have. So they head out. The first day we get to Merktown, and as I'm telling it, it sounds a lot better than it actually happened. I feel there are a lot of pauses. I didn't really know quite what to do in Merktown, and I want to remedy that. I've acquired a PDF of the book, which are readily available on drive-through, and I definitely am trying to track down a physical copy because I just love the Rips books. I just love having them for the art. The art on the covers alone is pretty cool. Anyway, uh, I I kind of glossed over Merktown, and it seems like it's definitely more detailed, or has been more detailed in the Rissiverse, and kind of only gets a little blurb as a gazetteer in the Savage Rift. But I think that's what they expect you to do with Savage Rifts is go, and there's so much material. Go reference the Rifts stuff that has been published already for your world of detail, and we'll just give you adventures and adventure hooks and adventure seeds, and play and have at it. That's kind of the way Savage Worlds writing seems to work. But we did have an encounter at Merktown. Some mercenary group of demons tried to take Simon, whether they were going to take him and return him in good standing or take him and kill him. Who knows? It was very unclear. But they saw that this group was kind of followed them throughout the town and then camped nearby them. They camped outside of the walls of Merktown, near the Tennessee Headhunters headquarters, but kind of far away that they wouldn't get noticed. But they noticed these pursuers, and Lady Sereno went over to them, and it was like they're called Broodkill. One Broodkill leader and about 8 Broodkill, various cybernetics that they had. And she went and confronted them and said, "Why are you following us?" He's like, "Well, you know why we're following you." And then there was this verbal exchange. Eventually, it came to blows. When Serena cast Smite, the Broodkill demon realized, okay, now we're fighting. So it was a pretty good fight. The other players had their characters about 100 meters away, and they closed the gap very quickly. Both the robot and the Maima's ATV are pretty damn fast, and they got up there within a round and were able to open, or they're kind of in range for some of their weapons, but they wanted to make a statement. But Maima kind of drove up to the edge of the camp and just unloaded with the railgun, and Maima was fighting the Broodkill, was surrounded by a bunch of these Broodkill and fighting the leader. She was injured, but kind of soaked most of it, and man, I could not soak to save my life, and I think that's what made it really fun combat, is that they were hitting the creature, and I had to spend bennies to soak all the wounds from the Broodkill leader, while the others Broodkill were mowed down. They really didn't do much to the heroes. I think some cool things that happened was Halima. So Ariel kind of flew in there too, and to give Lady Serena support, and burned a couple Broodkill, injured the leader as well, and then Halima was really cool. We got to get the robot in, and with her new psi powers, was able to shift the arcane background, either weird science or psionics, one of them that works, and is able to now have a few powers, and was able to use now the demon sword. So it's robot with a giant flaming demon sword, which I think is pretty cool. And she went up there and attacked the Broodkill leader, who's like, "Oh my god, this is Garthul's sword, I want it." So he tried to grab it from her, and that didn't really work against the giant robot, unfortunately. Another funny thing that happened is Simon tried to go incorporeal and escape, but I had him kind of compete, like magic versus, like, her magic roll versus his spirit roll to get out, and they had designed it correctly, her and Maima, so that he kind of it shocked himself, and it affected his incorporeal form, so he couldn't get out of the cage. So it was a really nice kind of techno magic cage that's keeping this incorporeal sorcerer in. I thought that was kind of fun to play that out. And in the end, Lady Serena, in a frenzy, just kind of cut down 2 of the Broodkill and the leader in like one shot, with Amy acing again on the damage roll. And then, I mean, Darren's character, Maima, with the railgun was just... Ariel didn't do a lot, unfortunately, but her time will come and she will shine, I'm sure. I think Darren's trying to maybe get a hang of how the Sonic character works, but he's definitely having fun with Maima and her railgun laden ATV, and just like mowing down Broodkill left and right to keep him off, acting as a very effective support role and keeping him off her fellow heroes. So it was pretty cool. So I think in next time I definitely am trying to track down some proper travel rules. Kevin Madison has used them before in games that I played. I don't know if they're from Savage Worlds or from one of the Rips books, but I'll track them down and kind of use it for the next couple days of travel and see what might happen and if there's any random encounters. Or maybe they'll hang out in Merktown for a little bit now that I can give them some more detail. So we'll see. And then now Big Sword Saga, right? So this is part of one of the charity games that Kevin is running, and it's an ongoing saga. This is the third one we've run, and he ran it. I thought of the premise was so cool. He's running it sort of Boxer Rebellion, China era, and we're peasant heroes, a part of the resistance against the imperial overlords in a way. And it was centered around two big combats. He tied in things from previous adventures that happened in previous adventures, which I think is very cool. I love this kind of legacy idea, and something that my character did actually in the previous adventure when we were playing Legionnaires. His medic, he was a medic, and he just ran after the rest of the Legion was being mowed down or cut down by demons and some sort of sorcerer, and got these tablets to a group of steppe warriors, Mongolian or other. Um, I think I think they were Mongolian. Anyway, he gave them, or maybe they were Han soldiers. I don't know. He got the tablets to them, and and then these tablets came back in this adventure. So, and then they even mentioned the character's name, Praxis, which I thought was kind of cool. But it was two combats. One we went to a village, and there was a big boss, and it seems like this is a good ratio. So like a one big boss per 4 or so heroes, and two non-wild cards, two minions. They're called extras. I think they're called extras in Savage Worlds per uh, per um, per character, and I think that worked out pretty well because then you can just add extras in as you need them if it's kind of not tough enough. But it was a really fun fight. My character, I played the leader of the rebel group. We called ourselves the Mountain Zephyrs, and I really liked how Kevin threw in the kind of mystic martial arts in there with mundane attacks, and I think we had a really good time. We defeated these bandits, saved the village, found out some interesting information, got a name, had to rush back to our village, and we found some people that we knew that had gone to west to the edge of the empire, the Chinese empire, and now they brought these tablets back. So these tablets reappeared, and then we had to defend them against an assault. And again, it was like one big boss and about 8 or so extras, maybe more. I don't know. There are a lot of extras, but it was a really fun fight. We defeated the foe. I think Darren Green's character got the mortal blow on the creature, like aced a lot of damage with his big glaive. And I think what was kind of neat is we really used to good effect conviction. So we had gotten conviction from saving the village, and we used it to good effect in the second combat, which is really nice mechanic that makes you really even more heroic than just re-rolling and using bennies. I think it's a kind of because conviction is an extra d6 on top of your wild dice and skill dice, and it can ace as well. And you use it for everything during the round, and you can keep it going round per round with the Benny. So I think it's a really great mechanic, and we had a really good time with this game, and I can't wait to continue. Savage World is such a good system. It's so generic and universal, and there's actually Pinnacle has come out with this like wuxia style mystic kung fu box set that's coming out, and but Kevin didn't even need to reference that at all with what he did. So I think you could do like what Hobbes has referred to, kind of historical fiction with a hint of magic in sort of a niche type historical role playing game that's not quite historical, but you know what I mean, historical fiction. So I think that was pretty cool. All right, so what's next? A brief pause or a musical interlude, and then Call of Cthulhu. So as I mentioned before, we finished up the adventure called Spare the Rod, which is not in the book that I said it was, but is in another book, and that book is called, I had it here somewhere. Yes, that book is called More Adventures in Arkham Country, and it's not by Golden Goblin Press, though. Oscar Rios, is the owner of Golden Goblin Press. It's an author in one of the adventures here. It's by Miskatonic River Press. And this adventure is called, that we played and finished up, it's called Spare the Rod, and it is by Adam Gauntlet. There are numerous authors in here in this tome, and there are 6 adventures, Trail of Cthulhu conversions, and then a bunch of maps and handouts. It's really nice. So 6 scenarios for adventures in Arkham Country, and that's why my Roll20 is now called Arkham Country. So it's a really cool adventure. When we last left the heroes, the investigators, Amy plays Keiko Kane, a resident at Arkham Asylum, and my friend Anne plays Professor Samuels, who is a professor at Boston University and also a writer for it's not Stranger Things, it's called Stranger Than Fiction, some magazine, periodical that talks about strange stuff. And he's here. He was an old mentor, undergrad professor or medical school professor when Keiko was going to BU and BU Medical School or Mass Gen Medical, I don't know, some medical school, maybe even, was it Harvard Med? I think she went to Harvard undergrad, and then some medical school. We decided BU, maybe in Boston, or maybe even Tufts Medical School. One of the medical schools other than Harvard in Boston. So anyway, they're there. They just defeated a night gaunt outside of the house of Goody Fowler. They found her book. Then they kind of started investigating further and doing things. They got back to the house, able to sort of peruse the book. They had totally decided not to give it to Asenath Waite, and are going to study it themselves. So they kind of flipped through it, found some clues, but they need a full day of study at least to go about it, looking at it. And I feel like, did the professors work on it all night? It's possible. In any case, the next day there were some news articles that a couple places were broken into. The archaeology lab where they found the doll, this kind of voodoo-esque doll that is referent to the Reverend, that or maybe is very important, and then they learned could contribute to the demise of the Revenant that they're pursuing. And then there was a break in there, and they learned that the graduate student that they had been interacting with, Nathan Richards, had been injured. And the other article was that a school had been broken into, and so they investigated those 2 locations, got some more clues, learned that the Revenant, who was an old sadistic schoolmaster, was now. I should give a trigger warning for this. So there is a suggestion of violence against children in this adventure. If that bothers you, you should probably stop now listening, or skip towards the end, probably skip about 5 minutes or so, and you should be all right. I will keep track of the time here and maybe add an addendum if necessary. So anyway, so they find out that this Revenant is going to go after some bad children. They learn which children are targeted. They stake out the location of one of the children, and they run into some of Goody Fowler's ghouls who rough them up pretty badly. But Amy's character is able to cast a spell and cower them temporarily. There's some talk back, and then the ghouls just want to know where they're at in pursuing this person, and Professor Samuels suspects that Goody Fowler wants the Revenant for her own nefarious purposes, but they can't figure out quite what. But they convince the ghouls to let him go. They'll go get the doll. Then they'll come back in here and stake out with the Revenant, stake out with the ghouls against the Revenant. And then when they bind him, they'll help him go with him to Goody Fowler and do what she needs to do. So they kind of convince, deceive, lie to the ghouls, because they're going to get all these things, but they're not going to let Goody Fowler, whatever her plan is, get away with it or whatever. So they want to foil the old undead witch who is trapped there on Hangman's Hill in Arkham. So they go home, they get the doll, they get the book. So definitely the professor had spent time studying the book and studied it all night, because by this time they were ready to go. So the idea was that Amy's character was going to cast a spell to subdue the revenant. The ghouls were going to capture it, and then the professor was going to. So they learned that if they lit up the doll and said this particular word, that they would destroy the revenant. So, and then Amy had already prepared that, and I told her that what's going to happen if you cast this mind blowing spell, because spells don't really exist in the real world, but because of non-Euclidean geometry, I guess they do, that you're going to go temporarily insane, or not, you're going to have a bout of madness, if not go temporarily insane, if you want to cast a spell at the power to subdue this creature. So she was going to max it out as best she could. So she was prepared for that. They were prepared for that, and it worked. The craziest thing is that they're so bad at sneaking, and you know how it is in a game where you're stealthy and you inevitably fail the stealth roll and the bad guys see you, but they both rolled an extreme success on their stealth, and the ghouls just failed, which is amazing because ghouls can smell and all that kind of stuff. So they were kind of lucky. The ghouls didn't detect them. The Revenant didn't detect them. The ghouls attacked the Revenant, distracted it, and I mean the Revenant was pretty powerful. It like cut a ghoul in half in like one swipe. So like, oh, good thing we didn't fight it. So then Amy's character Keiko casts her spell, and lights up the kerosene laden doll and speaks the word, destroys the Revenant. Destroying the Revenant, stopping any harm to any children that they know of, and then winning the scenario. I think the cool thing that I did is I asked what I've been doing recently. I did this at a convention too. There's this idea, it is this idea, and it's a very valid idea that characters lose player agency when they go temporarily insane, or have a bout of madness. You just roll randomly and something happens. It doesn't really necessarily work. So what I've been doing is, yes, you're gonna the consequences, what's gonna happen. So then I ask the player, how do you manifest your bout of madness, or what is your temporary insanity? And Amy's character decided that because of the heat of the it was hot humid August day, the fire, she was just going to run around for X amount of rounds and try to take off her clothes. And then Professor Samuels, after he destroyed the creature, grabbed her and took her back to the car. And they got away. And that was the scenario. It's very cool. I very much enjoyed it. Have really good players. And the role playing, I mean, it sounds like not a lot happened, but there's so much going on in this 3 to 4 hour session with all the role playing that went involved. So Call of Cthulhu is a fantastic game. I love it, and I hope to continue to play out this sort of mini campaign, intermittent campaign that we're running. All right, so I'm going to stop here. This is the outro. The next section is going to be an unboxing, but it's only a 2.5 minute unboxing. And so if you want to hang on for the outro and the unboxing, well, here's the outro. Thank you for listening to The Geomologist Presents. You can, if you have any comments or questions, I love the interaction, as you can see here by the posts and responses. So send me a line or a message, either a voice recorded message or an email at geomologist@gmail.com. You can leave me a 90-second message on SpeakPipe. It is linked in the show notes. And you can send me a message. You can also do the voice recorded message and send me a DM on the Discord. I'm on a lot of them. My handle is easy to find. You can DM me, and then, or you can leave me a message on Spotify for Podcasters website, formerly Anchor. It's only a minute. It works sometimes, and I've heard people have trouble. For example, you have to make a new account every time, which is kind of dumb. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you soon. And remember, everyone,
good night and good rolling.
Okay, I got another box, and this one is from Lightning Source, so Drive-Thru RPG Publishing. It is about, looks to be about 9 inches by, so one of those long boxes, by 14 inches or so. but it's like one of those, it's perforated, so it should be easy to open. Let's see. Not so easy because the tape label is on the perforations. And this one is, oh, very cool. Oh, wow. I did not know I had ordered. Well, I knew I ordered this, but I didn't know I got the hardcover. But this is Bait al-Azif number 5. And it is that right? It is number 5, I believe. It is a magazine for Cthulhu Mythos role-playing. And apparently I got the hardcover, which is kind of cool. So it's very kind of nice, I think. Wow, it's about 116 pages of hardcover Call of Cthulhu material. There are, looks like there are 2 adventures in here and a whole bunch of other articles, including some like why you should be playing Cthulhu Invictus. And then Designers and Dragons from Arc Dream Publishing 2007 to the present, an interview with John Scott Tynes, vampires in your Mythos game. So pretty cool. So the history of Cthulhu in Spain, pretty interesting. But and then the scenarios are kind of cool too. There's a Dead Man Chest, which is Golden Age of Piracy scenario, and the other scenario is, where is the other scenario? Oh, there's stuff on how to make good starter scenarios, which is kind of nice. And a Trojan War scenario, which looks very interesting. So there you go. That's Bait al-Azif number 5. Looking forward to it. There's definitely some stuff from these magazines that I want to run, and I hope to be able to run them sometime.